So in Module 5, we're going to be talking about strategies and trading plans. What are the differences between the two, and what are they exactly, and why are they so important? So we will have other courses down the line that'll teach you more in depth how to create and how to use these things. But for now, let's just get an understanding of what they are and why they're so important. So first off, what is a strategy and why do you need one? Well, a trading strategy is a set of rules and criteria that guide your decisions on when to enter and exit the market. Your trading strategy will also provide a clear set of rules and criteria for managing your risk. Now, why do we need one? Well, the overall goal is to have clear steps that help you maintain your consistency. Why is consistency so important? Well, consistency is one of the most key things for being a profitable trader. Without consistency, no amount of back testing or data can help us if we aren't able to execute and let our strategy play out in the first place. So our strategy is part of our efforts to remove emotional decision making from our habits and ensure that we are executing our trades based on well-informed, calculated, and data-backed rules and guidelines. Maintaining our psychology and emotions can be one of the biggest challenges that we face as traders, so this is where our strategy comes in. Now, let's move on and just talk about what are the basic building blocks of a strategy. So, what could be some of the basic building blocks of a strategy? Now, this can vary from person to person, but here's a typical idea of what a trading strategy could contain. So, first off, we have our bias. The bias is the rules for determining the overall direction of the market. To do this, we could be using trends or looking at support and resistance in the market on higher timeframes, for example. Next, we have point of interest. This is rules for determining key areas where entry or exit opportunities could appear. Now, once again, an example of this could be major areas of support or resistance, or any place where price has a high chance of reacting. Next, moving on, we have confluences. These are rules for finding extra confirmations that support our possible entry points and identify them as higher probability areas of success. Now, these are basically extra points of interest that line up with your main point of interest. This can be through the use of indicators or candlestick patterns like we went over in earlier modules, or just any other price action related confirmations that support your point of interest. Then we have the entry. So this is a rule that clearly defines when to actually enter the trade. This can be a number of things depending on your strategy. Maybe it's a bullish engulfing pattern, or it's when price hits a trend line or something like that. Just your entry trigger. It is the rule that you have set that tells you when to hit that button that gets you into the market. Then on the opposite side, we have the exit. So just like the entry, this is a rule that clearly defines when to get out of the market. So this could be maybe if price is reaching a new area of resistance and you don't want to hold the trade there because price could reverse and take you all the way back to your stop loss, maybe that's going to be your exit rule, is the next point of interest. Then we have risk management rules just to top it all off. So these are just rules that clearly define how much risk you're going to take per trade. It's very important with a strategy that in order for your data and your math to pan out and to allow the strategy to do what the strategy is supposed to do, your risk needs to be consistent. So it's good to have rules in place that tell you how much you're going to risk per trade. So there's a general idea of what a trading strategy could look like. Notice how it's a clear set of rules that will allow us to execute without the use of any emotion or random decision making. Each step for entering and exiting a trade is clearly defined, including our rules for the risk we take, helping us maintain extreme consistency in the markets, which is what this is all about. Now, moving on, let's go and talk about trading plans. What's the difference and why is it important? So what is a trading plan and why do we need one? Now, what you're probably asking at this point is, well, we just went over what is a strategy. Isn't that the same thing? Well, not quite, and here's why. So what is a trading plan? A trading plan covers everything else to do with our routine that we need as traders. The question that you've got to be asking yourself, which is what your trading plan should help you answer, is who are you as a trader? And we'll get into that more later on. But why do we need one? Your trading plan supports your ability to follow your strategy and maintain good habits. It helps you keep a strong and consistent emotional state on the charts. Now, again, maintaining our psychology and emotions can be one of the biggest challenges we face as traders. A strategy is best paired with a solid trading plan, and they go hand in hand for bringing consistency to your daily habits. So let's move on and look at some of the basic building blocks of a trading plan, and you'll start to see how all of these things tie together. So what could be some of the basic building blocks of a trading plan outside of your strategy itself? Now, these are just some ideas and they're in no particular order. Just pay attention to these and just try and understand exactly what your trading plan is supposed to help you do here. So let's take a look. What time do you wake up in the morning? What time do you sit down to check the charts and do your analysis? Do you have a specific time window for finding your entries? How many trades are you willing to take a day? Maybe you have a daily loss limit. Have you set time aside during the day to journal your trades and your trading activity? So all these things and other things related to your productivity and mindset are the kind of things we're looking for when you're building the trading plan. Do you have time set aside to exercise? Are you making time to study other concepts of the market? Are you back testing? Now, all of these things could be in the form of a daily checklist that you tick off throughout the day, or it could just be a set of guidelines that you have for maintaining good psychology and therefore consistent execution of your trading strategy. So, as you can see, the trading plan and your strategy go very much hand in hand, like we said earlier. It's always a good idea to have both of these things well thought out and written down, as once again, consistency is key for becoming a profitable and skilled trader. Now, let me just take this opportunity to point out that if you are a Fivers trader already, we have a great trading plan template that you can download from your dashboard, and this will help you to figure out who you are as a trader, like we've been over, and it will also help you create specific guidelines for your strategy so you can execute with the best possible consistency. So maybe go take a look at that, and in the meantime, let's move on. Hey guys, so before we move on, I just want to show you an actual example of what a trading plan and strategy plan looks like. I know that I mentioned before that at the Fivers we actually have a trading plan template for you, so let's just take a quick look at it and give you an actual example of, what a trading plan is supposed to look like. If we just scroll down a little bit, we have a small introduction. And then we start being asked some questions that are related to what we were talking about before when we introduced what a trading plan is, and that is, who are you as a trader? So there's lots of questions in this trading plan template that basically ask you a bunch of questions to help you figure out who you are as a trader. Because as we know, this is going to be very important going forward to try and figure out some things that we can implement into our daily routine to optimize consistency both on and off the charts. So we've got some questions like, why do I trade? What are my goals? Are you trading full-time, part-time, for fun? What are your expectations from trading? When does trading fulfill me? When does it distress me? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? This kind of thing. Who are you as a trader? And then as we scroll down a little bit more, we have the strategy part of the plan. So, you get to name your strategy, and then you start filling in some of these blanks, which we talked about before, which were some of the building blocks of a strategy, which is what pairs are you going to trade, what time frame, are you using indicators, are you using an EA or an algorithm, your setup, what are you looking for in the charts, what are your points of interest, your triggers, when are you going to enter the trade, like we said before, when are you going to exit the trade, when is your stop, and also trade management. So again, going back to the risk management aspect of this, how are you going to manage a trade? Are you going to scale in? Are you going to scale out? Are you going to wait for the take profit no matter what? And do you have any daily targets, like a profit target or a loss target? And how much are you going to be risking per day as you trade? What is your personal risk limit? So yeah, as you can see, there's definitely a difference between a trading strategy and a trading plan, but they both very much go hand in hand, and it is important to focus on and do both. So yeah, there you go. There's an example, and let's move on. So here we are at module 6, and we're going to be doing an introduction into risk management. And let's kick that off with what is risk management and why is it important? First off, what is risk management? Risk management is the process of identifying and controlling the potential losses in your trading activity, with the end goal being to preserve capital. Now, by setting limits on the amount of risk you take per trade, you can protect your trading from significant losses, allowing us to stay in the game for longer. So, there are many ways to manage risk, but there are some basic concepts and tools which we need to understand. Those will be risk to reward ratio, win rate, and two tools which are order types known as stop loss and take profit. So we'll get into those in a little bit, but first let's just talk about why risk management is important. So with good risk management, we can take losses and still be profitable traders. As good as your trading edge may be, losses are inevitable. Having a solid risk management plan will be absolutely necessary for staying in the markets long term. Good risk management is also crucial for maintaining our consistency and controlling our emotions as traders. So, having a risk management plan will help us to mitigate the negative emotional impact that comes with taking a loss. And as we mentioned in the strategy and trading plan modules, the ability to control our emotions and maintain consistency are key to becoming profitable traders. So there will be a more in-depth course on risk management, but let's take a look at a couple of these base concepts and mechanics behind risk management. So let's talk about something called risk to reward ratio. Now, risk to reward ratio measures your potential loss against your potential gains for a trade. This is an important tool and metric to consider when deciding if a trade is viable before even entering it into the market. So risk to reward is usually presented as a ratio, such as 1-to-1, 1-to-2, etc. So the first number being your risk and the second being your reward. So if we have a little look at this example down below, let's say we plan to enter a trade where the potential loss is $100 and the potential gain is $300. That means our risk to reward ratio is 1-to-3. For every $1 we are risking, we have a potential gain of $3. Now, generally speaking, and I say generally because there are some exceptions to this and some other caveats that we will be talking about just in a minute, but we want to ensure that our potential gains are outweighing our potential losses over time. Now, risk to reward isn't everything when it comes to this or profitability in general. It goes hand in hand with something called win rate. So let's move on and talk a little bit about win rates. So, let's quickly talk about something called win rate. What is win rate? Well, win rate is the percentage of your trades that end in profit. For a solid risk management strategy, we will need to balance risk reward and win rate together. Now, why is that? Well, having a high win rate might seem like the end goal, but what if you have a high win rate and your risk to reward ratio isn't giving you enough profits to outweigh your losses? A high win rate alone does not guarantee profitability in the long run, and neither does a high risk to reward on its own. We need to balance both. So let's just take a look at these two examples that I've made down here, and let me explain this. So let's say in example 1, we have a strategy with a 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio with a 40% win rate. We are risking $100 to make $400. Now, let's say we take 10 trades in total. We have 4 winners because it's a 40% win rate, which equals $1,600 in profit. Now, the next 6 trades are losers, which is minus $600, which leaves us with a total profit of $800. So for the strategy with a 1-to-4 risk to reward ratio and a 40% win rate, so we're losing more trades than we're actually winning, we are making $800 in total. Now let's look at example 2. We have a strategy with a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio and an 80% win rate. So a lot of our trades are winners. We're very rarely actually losing a trade. So again, we are risking $100, but this time only to make $100 in return because it's a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So again, we have 10 total trades, 80% win rate, so we have 8 winners, which equals $800 profit, and 2 losers, which is a minus $200 loss. That gives us a total profit of $600. So, as you can see, even though one strategy has us winning almost every trade, it was the strategy that had us losing more trades than we won that gave us more profit in the end. And this is the power of risk to reward ratio and win rate, and a very nice example of why it's important to balance both, not just focusing on one or the other. So now that we understand why risk to reward and win rate are important, let's talk about the main tools that we use as traders to manage this in a real trading scenario. So let's move on. Let's go over 2 of the most essential tools for traders and their risk management, the stop loss and the take profit. Now, these are 2 different order types that help us limit our losses and lock in our profits during a trade. So let's go ahead and start off by talking about stop loss. So the stop loss is an order to automatically close a trade when the market reaches a specific price whilst in a loss, whilst in drawdown. Literally, it stops losses. It is our safety net, ensuring that our losses are not beyond our set limit if a trade starts moving against us. Our stop loss is usually placed in an area according to our strategy, and it means that we can determine ahead of time what our max potential loss is for the trade and what price to get out. So next, let's do a little introduction to the take profit. So similar to the stop loss, it is an order to automatically close a trade when the market reaches a specific price, this time in profit. Literally, it allows us to take our profits. So our take profit is usually placed at a predetermined level, again according to our strategy, where we want to cash in our gains. So it is through these 2 tools that we can implement the concept of risk to reward. So let's switch over to the charts and I'll show you an example of what this looks like. So here we are back on my chart, and I'm going to give you a quick example of how to use the stop loss and take profit tools. Now, this platform that we're using, this is called TradingView, and they have a tool that lets us set this up very easily. So let's just take a look at this example. I have this little resistance area here, and let's say I want to take a buy. Now, for this, I want to make sure that I have a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio. So now, using the stop loss and take profit tools, how can I do this? Well, let's take a look. I'll use the long position tool here because we are going to be buying, and let's say that I enter at this point right here. Now, the red area is going to be our stop loss, and the green is going to be our take profit. So for a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio trade, how am I going to do this? Well, first what I will do is I will predetermine my stop loss. Let's say I have my stop loss just below these levels here. And let's say I want to risk $100. So using my position size calculator tool like we went over in the understanding pips and lots section of the course, I have taken this, which is a 19.5 pip stop loss, and I have determined my lot size so that this makes my stop worth $100. If price comes down from my entry and closes out here, I'll have lost $100. So I want this to be a 1-to-3 risk to reward trade. So how do I do that? Well, my reward needs to be 3 times the size of my stop loss. So we can do that right away. As you can see on this tool, we already have something here that shows us that our, there we go, that our risk to reward ratio is 3. This is how big my target will have to be to have a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio. My reward is 3 times as big as my stop. So there you have it. It's super nice and simple. We get in at this price. I set my stops here to equal $100, and I have a reward that if price comes all the way up here and takes my profits, I will make 3 times as much as my risk. I risk $100. If it comes down here, I will lose $100. And if it hits my target, I will make $300. This is a 1-to-3 risk to reward ratio trade with the use of the tools stop loss and the take profit. So there it is. Don't need to complicate it any more than that. Just nice and simple.